Hello, my name is Dobie Moser, and I'm excited to be here with you for what we're calling our Marriage Minutes video series. This first session, the theme is marriage as adventure and journey. And anytime we go on an adventure or journey, we need to pack our bags, get our suitcases ready, because we're not exactly sure what's going to happen on that journey. Certainly, many of us know of Groucho Marx, the comedian, and he had a famous line where he said, "I was married by a judge. I should have asked for a jury." Well, that's not the way we would like our journey to end in this situation. And marriage is an amazing journey. And as we think of that visual of preparing suitcases and packing our bags, think of when you were married and you were up there in front of everybody gathered for the celebration, and invisible to everybody present was the idea that there were suitcases all around you, around both spouses. What's it mean to be a man? What's it mean to be a woman? What's it mean to be a husband? What's it mean to be a wife? How do we handle money? How do we work with in-laws? How do we deal with conflict with each other? What kind of traditions come from your background, from my background, and how do we weave those together in what will become our own marriage? So a lot of times in marriage, we need to pay attention to asking the right questions. And when I say asking the right questions, I'm not talking about how do I look or the ideas of where are my keys. Those things happen all the time. I'm talking about deeper questions that in marriage we have to open up those suitcases I referred to and have the integrity and courage to look and see what's inside of them. And what I mean by that is when we open those up, it's what I bring to the marriage, what Lisa, my wife, brings to the marriage. We open those up and we find out there are some amazing treasures in there that we got from our families of origin growing up. And those treasures, we want to make sure we don't forget them or leave them off and unseen. We want to bring them out, clean them up, put them on a shelf, put them somewhere special so we pay attention to them. Likewise, we're going to find some things in there that are surprises that I didn't know was in my suitcase or my baggage. My wife didn't know was in her baggage. And we have to say, okay, what does this mean and how do we work through it? Some of those surprises I may not have told Lisa intentionally, no big deal. And others I may not even know were in there myself. And we become aware as we live marriage every day. And then there's also a category as we unpack these bags that I put in the category of some things should not be set aside lightly. They should be thrown with great force. They're things that are not going to help our marriage and in fact can actively harm our marriage, and we want to make sure that that does not happen. You know, one of our Pittsburgh heroes is Fred Rogers, yes, the Fred Rogers, and he had a wonderful line where he said, "Sometimes old earthquakes cause new tremors." And that idea that part of sorting out and reflecting, that's the work of marriage. That reflection is what turns experience into insight and insight into intentional, loving choices. And that's what we need to build up our marriage. Now, sometimes those insights, when we have to throw things far away, sometimes those insights come at the price of shattering illusions that we thought we had to have or that we've quietly held below the surface. When one of my brothers got married, on the morning of the wedding was at 1 o'clock up at Notre Dame, and that morning at 9 o'clock, we insisted on playing a family basketball game on cement courts. And before that happened, my wife said, "Do you think this is a good idea?" And I said, "Sure, no problem. What could happen?" Well, what could happen is we got down there and we played one game and somehow the old guys beat the young guys. So they immediately challenged us to a rematch. Of course, they wiped us out in the second game. And now it's an hour and a half before the wedding. We're all sweating like pigs. And I'm saying to everybody, I think we should call it right here. But some competitive folks in the crowd said, no, we can't leave it at a tie. So we end up playing a third game. And sure enough, the lector of the wedding collides with one of the young guys and now has a split lip and is at the hospital getting stitches. And when I came back and showered and prepared for the wedding, my wife said, "Why do you all do that?" And I said, "Well, babe, everybody does these kind of things." And she just looked at me and said, "I don't think so." So there's just one of those examples of things we do and we think it's normal. Somebody else looks at it and sees it from a very different angle. For each of these conversations, I'm going to offer something called a coffee chat. And this would be something for you and your spouse just to have a conversation anytime during the day where you sit down and dedicate yourselves just to each other with nothing else interrupting, so you can give your full attention to hearing and listening to each other. And the question I would like to pose for this first Marriage Minute session is, what do you and what do I need to hold on to as we unpack our marriage bags and our family baggage, and what do we need to let go of? And just have the courage and integrity to ask yourself that question. Because every family has wonderful gifts and strengths, and every family has limitations. And taking the time to reflect and name those things can be a wonderfully liberating experience. We don't have to keep doing things because we always did them that way. And it also, frankly, prevents us from getting stuck and doing things that aren't working, that are draining our energy, but we have to do them because that's the way my family did them, or that's the way your family did them. Well, actually, one of the wonderful things about being married is it allows us the permission to let go of things that we no longer need to do. And having the courage to unpack those bags and look and see what's happening is a great way to do that. Now, I would like to offer as well 3 specific marriage building habits at each of our sessions. And these are things I'd encourage you to try each day to strengthen your own marriage and your relationship with one another and with the Lord. And the first one would be this: make 5 positive verbal and emotional expressions to your spouse for every 1 negative expression. What social science research has told us is in happy marriages, there are 5 or more expressions for every negative expression between the spouses. So how important it is to pay attention, to be positive, and to affirm what we can affirm. In a sense, the way we want to think about that is catch them doing good. What is it you love about them? What is it you want to affirm in them? What can you thank them for? But try to think of that formula. For happy marriages, there's 5 positive expressions of love and emotional support for every 1 negative. Now, what they've also found is in unhappy marriages, there's less than 1 positive expression and emotional support gesture for every negative. So if you want to have a happy marriage, think 5 positive for every 1 challenging or negative comment. The second would be this: every one of us needs to start where we are. We have this idea of what a marriage is supposed to be, what it should be, and my encouragement is turn off the autopilot. There is no exact place where you are. Wherever you are is where you need to start. And what I mean by that is when we turn off the autopilot, turn off the technology, set aside the phone, set aside the distractions, whether it's a virtual or online distraction, and give each other that full attention. And start where you are and be with each other every single day. Every couple has their joys and challenges. Pay attention to yours. Don't worry about the others. Focus as much as you can on yours. And lastly, what I would encourage you, and I'll be doing throughout this series, is I want to give you a simple prayer for our third point that you want to pray alone as well as together. It's a simple prayer. It'll be on screen. And here's the prayer we can pray. Lord, teach me how to accept your love and mercy, and teach me how to love my spouse just as you love me. Let me repeat that one more time. Lord, teach me how to accept your love and mercy, and teach me how to love my spouse as you love me. Peace be with you.